Los Angeles, city once hailed as one of the most prosperous places in America, is now gradually turning into a giant slum. It sounds like it's just a cheap headline trick, but in reality, that is the situation that more than 3.8 million residents here face every day. The land that was once a symbol of the brilliant California dream is now imprinted in memory with images of rows of tents crammed under bridges, streets filled with homeless people, and the insecurity of social evils creeping into every dark corner of the city. Paradoxically, Los Angeles remains at the heart of a wealthy America, where technology, entertainment, and financial corporations create vast fortunes. But amid the neon lights of Beverly Hills or Santa Monica, there are images of thousands of people living in conditions worse than the post-war era. This reality not only exposes the difficulties of a city, but also raises the painful question: how can a country with the world's leading GDP let social cracks spread to this extent? In this documentary, we'll take a deep look at Los Angeles, not as a land of dreams, but as a mirror of dark corners, contradictions, and even signs of collapse about America's future. Before you draw in your head an image of a small beach house or an afternoon strolling among the Hollywood Boulevard lights, try stopping for a while. Listen to the full song "Hollywood Victim" by Don Felder, and watch the whole video, because sometimes the most beautiful fantasy is also the trap waiting to drag you down to the abyss. Once known as City of Angels, Los Angeles is now being given a new name by many residents: City of Tents. From glamorous Hollywood to buzzing Venice Beach, rows of tents lengthen the sidewalks, turning once-lit avenues of nightlights into a spectacle like stepping out of an apocalyptic movie. According to the latest 2025 data, Los Angeles currently has more than 72,000 homeless people. But in post-pandemic reality, the numbers are much higher, as hundreds of thousands of people lose their jobs and are unable to return to normal life. When COVID-19 broke out, the city was forced to stop cleaning up camps to avoid the risk of spreading the virus. It was this decision that created the turning point. More and more temporary tent areas were springing up, leading to a series of social, business, and security consequences. No need to get lost in the dark alleys. You can easily see the tent neighborhoods springing up right in the middle of LA Center. On Hollywood Boulevard, there appears a scrap castle with all the amenities, built by a veteran from Kansas City. Even though he is homeless, he still makes a living repairing bicycles and electric vehicles, and dreams of becoming a mechanical engineer. To him, this homemade house is not a symbol of poverty, but of freedom and autonomy, as opposed to the crowded temporary housing areas he calls prison. Not far away, in South Los Angeles, another man turned torn tarpaulins and discarded wooden frames into a 3-story treehouse on a tree. That house has a mezzanine for sleeping, a closed corner for living, and grows every day before the eyes of surrounding residents. Initially, it was just a ladder and tarp, but after 2 weeks, it became a comfortable enough house, as a resilient bird's nest clinging in the middle of a concrete steel city. Not far away, at Van Nuys, a huge homeless encampment located along Oxnard Road, north of Burbank Boulevard, was once considered the largest camp in the San Fernando Valley. This camp not only caused a serious fire in November, but also caused businesses and local residents to constantly complain about unsanitary conditions and lurking dangers. After a series of reflections, the authorities decided to clear the entire camp within just 10 hours. However, even though it was cleaned up, Van Nuys still left constant worries in the hearts of the people. Because everyone is afraid that, like many other places in Los Angeles, these camps will only disappear temporarily and then grow on another street corner. Just like that, makeshift huts take turns taking over the streets, gradually turning Los Angeles into a maze of slums, a harsh downside of the Hollywood dream. If even City of Angels turns into City of Tents, then is there any place in America that is truly safe for a peaceful roof? And when the glare of Hollywood still shines on the screen, when will we dare to face the darkness that covers the streets right under our feet? The makeshift tents crammed into LA streets are not only a picture of the housing crisis, they are also a warning about the subtle disintegration of a city once known as the City of Angels. As every street corner and every block becomes the place of survival for thousands of people, the line between safety and chaos is gradually blurred. On Figueroa Street, a street that was once the pride of Los Angeles, filled with floral flags in parades celebrating the championship of the Lakers, Kings, or Rams. Now, the darkness is when a vicious reel silently kicks in. Under dim yellow lights, young girls stand still on the sidewalk, not because of choice, but because life has pushed them into an invisible cycle where dreams and efforts become sources of exploited materials. Or as South Los Angeles, where Figueroa Street crosses, has long been the fine line between order and chaos. Homelessness, street crime, and nighttime surreptitious activities are intertwined and spread in ways that no one can control. The deterioration did not come like a storm, but crept like cracks from the foundations of the house and then spread to each wall, taking over every street. According to the LAPD, the area has consistently been among the highest violation rates in the metropolitan area, with the number of thefts, injuries, and requests for emergency assistance steadily increasing year by year. Although the number of homeless people decreased by 3.4% in 2025, the nature of the crisis remains unchanged. Programs like Inside Safe can help relieve part of the tent, but in Figueroa, moving to one place, another place springs up, forming a hopeless loop with no end in sight. Streets that were once symbols of light and opportunity now remind people that where darkness creeps in, trust and safety can also be easily washed away. Downtown Los Angeles is perhaps the city's biggest pain bearer, with the sprawling Skid Row, slum just blocks from the financial arteries. More than 4,800 people crowded into 54 streets, living in makeshift huts amid piles of trash, musty smells and neglect. Temporary solutions such as converted hotels or accommodation centers only bring temporary stability. People staying today may be forced to leave in less than 2 weeks, then return to the streets, starting again from negative numbers. The only dream of the homeless residents here is to get by. As for Venice Beach, once the pearl of the Pacific Ocean, tragedy cannot be avoided. Along the coastal walkway, hundreds of plastic tents, old carts, and dirty mattresses lengthened, creating a temporary and cold picture. Residents and tourists now glide quickly instead of stopping to watch the sunset. Many residents are upset. We witness arguments over water bottles, banging on doors every night without anyone interfering. Venice has now become a bitter testament to a society that has stopped investing in a weak community. The price paid is not just a few square meters of misappropriation, but a deep rift in faith in justice, humanity, and tolerance. The makeshift tents stretching from Figueroa Street to Skid Row to Venice Beach not only reflect the housing crisis, but also expose the subtle disintegration of Los Angeles. The once brightly lit streets have now become symbols of insecurity, despair, and fractured trust. This is proof that when society stops investing in vulnerable communities, the price is not only occupied space, but also the gradual collapse of faith in justice, humanity, and tolerance. Can a city as rich and brilliant as Los Angeles preserve its humanity if thousands of people are still abandoned right under the eyes of the whole city? And if the American dream can be shattered in the darkness of every street like this, what do we expect for the next generation? Los Angeles has long been known as the city of lights and dreams. But when delving deep into the central streets, that image appears with a heartbreaking paradox. Besides luxury buildings and million-dollar villas are temporary tents, old cars turned into shelters for the whole family. In a city considered the richest in America, having a roof to protect from rain and sun has become a luxury for tens of thousands of people. The housing crisis in Los Angeles did not happen overnight. It is the result of decades of accumulation. Property prices escalate much faster than average wages, and rental costs far exceed the affordability of unskilled workers. There have been statistics showing that the majority of residents have to spend more than half of their monthly income just to pay rent, and that makes any shock, an illness, a job loss, an unexpected expense, can push them out onto the street. Many homeless people today have had stable jobs and were once part of the middle class. Faced with this reality, city residents fall into a state of confusion between sympathy and fear. Many used to start with sharing, trying to support food, clothing, but over time, the heavy presence of tents, garbage, and petty crime caused growing concern. Small stores and large brands were forced to retreat from many neighborhoods, leaving empty blocks and adding to the feeling of desolation. Local governments, despite spending billions of dollars on support programs, still struggle in the loop. Each solution is quickly swallowed up by real pressure. What torments many elderly people is the comparison between Los Angeles today and Los Angeles of the past. At one point, a factory worker could still buy a small suburban house, build a family, and create a future for his children. At that time, faith in the American dream was still solid. Today, that dream shakes right on the land that was once considered its symbol. Communities that were once attached to village love are now gradually disappearing, giving way to vigilance and locked doors. However, perhaps there are still directions. Affordable housing models, tiny homes programs, or efforts from non-profits have proven that a sustainable solution does not have to be luxury projects, but can start from creating a safe, temporarily stable roof for people on the sidelines. Several large companies in the technology and construction sectors have begun committing resources to support social housing projects, with the expectation of bringing balance to the market. In a country so rich that it is redundant, why has a roof, the most basic thing of life, become a luxury dream for tens of thousands of people? And if Los Angeles is shining a light on the true face of America, will we have the courage to look straight at it before those cracks spread even further? California was once a promised land. Images of golden beaches, bright sunlight, and avenues filled with opportunity have brought millions of people to Los Angeles in the hope of building a new future. But that dream, for many people, is falling into bitter fragments. Behind the flashy shell of paradise lies a reality. Living standards are suffocatingly expensive, where even surviving every day becomes challenging. The cost of living in Los Angeles is among the highest in the United States. Rents far exceed the income of the average worker, causing many families to share cramped spaces with strangers or accept living in rundown apartments. Even a simple meal at popular chains like McDonald's or Subway can become a financial burden for those struggling to make a living. In that context, many people who once believed in the California dream are now forced to admit that that dream is trapping them in a spiral of debt and insecurity. Immigrants carrying the desire to change their lives are often the most vulnerable. They are willing to work long hours in manual jobs, sometimes in Amazon warehouses or in Starbucks chain restaurants, just to have a chance to stay in the city. But as rental costs consume all of their income and living expenses continue to escalate, hopes of building a solid foundation for the next generation gradually disappear. Many families were eventually pushed into the streets, bringing with them deep disappointment in the land that promised them a new start. The price to pay is not measured only in money, it also exists in the loss of faith and spirit. Los Angeles residents, who once boasted an open lifestyle, now face constant anxiety. Can they keep a home? Do their children have a future in this stuffy environment? From a business perspective, this situation also creates cracks. Small shops were forced to close because they could not bear the rent on the premises, which led to a decline in the vitality of the whole neighborhood. Even big brands like CVS, Walgreens, or Target have had to narrow or close stores in many areas that are difficult to control because of operating costs and complicated security situations. As these familiar names disappeared from the streets, the community lost not only its services, but also its belief in the stability that had been the basis of urban life. So, has the California dream never really disappeared, but is just testing us with too high a price to keep it? And will Los Angeles continue to be a symbol of hope? Or will it become a testament to an American dream that is fracturing from within? For decades, work has been seen as a sure way out of poverty. Americans used to believe that just by working hard, you would be able to support your family, own a house, and accumulate for the future. But in Los Angeles today, that belief is shaking violently. The city still has jobs, even many, from large suburban warehouses to service chains growing everywhere. However, for thousands of workers, a monthly salary check is not enough in exchange for basic stability. Income from common jobs, such as waitresses, delivery drivers, or retail workers, is rarely enough to cover the ever-increasing rent. Some people have to work 2 or even 3 jobs at the same time, but still cannot escape the cycle of deprivation. Many families, even though both husband and wife have stable jobs, still fall into debt or have to live crowded into cramped rooms. The image of work synonymous with stable now seems to be just a memory of a bygone era. This loss is not just in material terms, it also leaves invisible wounds in the mind. When a father has to choose between paying rent or buying adequate food for his children, or when a mother has to work long night shifts in exchange for several $100s, dreams of a bright future gradually replaced by constant fear. For them, poverty is no longer a consequence of unemployment, but has become a persistent shadow that covers even those who are working hard every day. At the community level, this fact causes neighborhoods to increasingly lose their sense of security and cohesion. Local stores that depended on residents' purchasing power had to close because customers could no longer afford to spend. Meanwhile, large businesses across the city, from Target to Starbucks to Amazon, are also facing pressure, maintaining competitive prices while still ensuring profits in an increasingly unpredictable market. This invisibly creates a vicious circle where neither workers nor businesses find true stability. If work no longer has enough power to lift people out of poverty, what will be the new foundation for rebuilding faith in the American dream? And can Los Angeles find another path before this silent injustice becomes an inherent part of urban life? Los Angeles was once likened to an eternal stage where the glamour of Hollywood, the stretches of beaches, and the California dream converge. But today, that city has become a shattered mirror, reflecting many fragmented pieces of American reality. Passing through avenues that once sparkled with neon signs, people not only saw luxury cars, but also long rows of temporary tents. Right next to lavish shopping centers, pieces of homeless life are present, like cracks that cannot be hidden. Those cracks are not unique to Los Angeles. They expose bigger questions about America's future. When one of the wealthiest cities can become a gathering place for giant tents, one is forced to ask oneself, is this a warning to the entire nation? Many experts say Los Angeles is like a preview of what can happen in other metropolises when house prices escalate, when jobs are no longer secure, and when the gap between rich and poor widens. What's remarkable is the paradox. Los Angeles is still home to huge capital flows, and technology, entertainment, fashion, and real estate companies still generate billions of dollars in value each year. But at the same time, ordinary residents struggle to find a way to survive. An employee working for a large supermarket chain like Target or Costco can spend more than half of his income just to pay rent. A driver running for Uber or Lyft has to work from morning until late, but is still worried about outstanding debt. These pieces of life are like the darkness that lingers behind the bright spotlight, creating a bitter opposition that is hard for anyone to ignore. Los Angeles, in that way, not only tells the story of a city, but also exposes the rift in the American dream. A dream once built on the foundation that the next generation will live better than the previous generation, that hard work will be rewarded. However, as more and more workers no longer see jobs that bring safety, as the middle class erodes and slums grow in the heart of the rich city, that dream becomes more fragile than ever. Run out of. Some large corporations have begun to realize their responsibilities. Google and Microsoft invested in affordable housing funds to partly resolve the crisis. Amazon and Tesla launch an initiative to build a clean energy community and support new labor skills. Walmart and Starbucks launched expanded employee benefits programs to maintain some social cohesion. Although these solutions cannot be completely changed, they are important initial steps, reminding that the sustainability of a city cannot be based solely on superficial aura, but needs both safety and hope. Hope for each person. If Los Angeles today has become a broken mirror, will we dare to look directly at that reflection to change, or will we continue to let those cracks spread until not just one city, but an entire country becomes its own fragmented mirror? Los Angeles today is like a crack running down the giant glass that bears America's name. It exposes neglected lives, broken dreams, and the heartbreaking opposition between wealth and poverty. But also from those cracks, we see a message. If we do not acknowledge and heal, then that glass can crumble at any time. What remains behind the numbers, stories, and images is the feeling that this is not just a Los Angeles problem. It's the test of the future of an entire nation. That whether we still retain faith in fairness, in cohesion, in the age-old promise of the American dream. If Los Angeles city was once hailed as the capital of dreams and opportunity could turn into a symbol of rupture, then will the rest of America be able to stop itself from going on the same path? And if the next generation grows up in a world where dreams have faded, what will we leave behind them but regret? Please share your thoughts under comments. Do you believe that the American dream still has a chance to be reborn, or that Los Angeles is just the beginning of a broader tragedy? And if there is a solution, in your opinion, where should it start? The government, the community, or each of us individually? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to accompany us on our journeys to discover the truth hidden behind America's aura, and so that every movie is not just a story, but also a reminder about the very present we live in. This documentary was made with the aim of exploring, analyzing, and eliciting social reflection. All information, data, characters, and stories mentioned in the content are based on public references, general statements, or experiences recorded at the time of production. Some details are presented in a generalized description and are not absolutely affirmative. We do not make accusations, attributions of responsibility, or political views to any person, organization, or agency. Any mention of a brand, business, or organization in the film is only for the purpose of illustration, reference, or analysis of the social context, without promotional or critical meaning. Audiences are encouraged to approach content as an inspiration for reflection and discussion, rather than as a final conclusion. The views, feelings, and opinions expressed in this film may change over time and do not necessarily reflect all aspects of the problem adequately.